And XTransfer is the largest B2B trade payment platform globally in a few different metrics. First of all, in the TPV, the payments that we process, we are the largest. For example, last month, we processed around 15 billion US dollar. And if you put on a year-on-year scale, we're still growing at close to 100% growth rate. And second metric that we look at is the merchants, SMEs, that we serve globally. So now we serve close to 1 million SMEs globally with a very good mix of Chinese merchants and international merchants, of 55 Chinese and 45 international merchants. And third metrics that we look at is really the team that we present as an independent payment platform. So now we employ around 4,000 people. And this year we plan to expand another 1,500 globally, really in light of our global expansion strategy. Our model is really provide SMEs with a new way to collect and to payment when it comes to their B2B cross-border trade business. So in the B2B payment, we usually divide that into B2B and B2C. B2C is what we call in the e-commerce payment, whereby you have payment company work hand in hand with guys like Amazon, Shopify, help them to collect and disperse payment. And in the B2B world, previously the merchants maybe rely on two solutions as of status quo. The first solution is what we call the banking system. So that's where we come into play, say, hey, instead of using the legacy banking system, you can use our service, whereby XTransfer not only partner with global banks in Hong Kong, such as JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank, Barclays, HSBC, Standard Chartered, and in each of the market we go, we also partner with the local, regional, or local banks, right? In the case of Africa, we do have partnered with Access Bank, EcoBank, and the list can go on and on. So that's how we, first of all, serve those SMEs that are previously underserved by the banks for a multiple set of reasons. First of all, is the SMEs that's too small for the banks, right? Banks are very comfortable good at serving the middle-sized and the large-sized enterprises. And second is really their behavior changes quite a lot, which cause compliance risk for those banks. And thirdly is really the fee from our ROI perspective. It doesn't make sense for the bank to spend so much resource and energy to serve the SMEs. That's whereby we come in play using not only the help of technology, the AI, right? So AI really boosts quite a lot how we do AML, onboarding, KYC with the vast data that we have collected over the past 9 years, and combined with all the data providers that wherever we go globally and locally, and that's how we really using our expertise, know-how to build a proprietary in-house AI risk management framework in order to serve the long-tail customer that previously was omitted by the banks. When it comes to particular countries, I think our first, outreach customer is the importer-exporters for SMEs. So a very good example is that China is the largest manufacturing powerhouse. So when it comes to we do have the old trial that China good at exporting, which is the apparels, the white goods, right? And for the new trial, you have the EVs, solar panels, right? On top of that, you can see all the daily product. China has the most powerful, most cost efficient, and all best quality product as well. That's why people all buying from China, right? Now we are very good at serving SME, even micro business owners. And now, given we are also growing, right, our capabilities, the rate that we are able to provide is also very competitive, even for the large and middle-sized enterprises. So that's how we gradually build. So now we call ourselves a global B2B settlement network, whereby we have the largest sort of, not only as I mentioned, the merchant base, help us to build the network, the database, the know-how of each of the particular vertical, and vertical, i.e. the industry, and each particular of the region, what's their behavior. You know, we combine all of this. We are very good at expanding to upscale to serve the middle-sized, large-sized enterprises. Yeah, I think that's something that in the build, and we'll be happy to also help facilitate the China-Rwanda trade, right? So I do understand that China is also the largest importer, origin of Rwanda, right? So I do believe that without looking at the number, closely, I do believe at least 50% of them are made up of the goods, daily use manufacturing goods, whereby we can help the banks to facilitate on the AML, KYC onboarding process using AI, using the large language model that we have been built and fine-tuned along the way for the past 9 years. Africa at the moment is our strongest growth engine globally. So last year we recorded more than 300% growth rate in African market, followed by Latin America, ASEAN, Middle East, and Europe, of course. So now we are going to sort of second tier of the countries, for example, Kenya, Tanzania, and all the Francophone countries, including Rwanda as well. That's also on the radar that we are trying. I think the reason why we are here today is also trying to understand from a regulatory perspective how we can work together with the central banks in Rwanda to help to have a solution that really catered for SMEs. Because SMEs, I think their wish is also very, very simple. For the past 9 years, that based on our experience, how we deal with them, right? They also just want the hassle-free, very simple kind of interface. That's why from day one, we are the only sort of payment company that launched an app. Having the app, people just take a picture of their invoice, logistics documents, custom filing, and upload to the app. And at the back end, we work with our AI model and our compliance people to making sure, okay, you can get your money, credited within a few hours. Then you can do your payout, you can do your FX, right? So that's kind of a solution that we are also trying to promote for the accessibility of the global financial services, right? So our end vision or end game is that, okay, even for a company less than 10 people, even a mom and pop shop, they can also enjoy similar treasury service that Fortune 500 company like Apple, like Google, like Total, they can enjoy, right? So that's kind of our end vision. But the kind of pre-context is that you have to be doing legitimate trade business, right? Because at the core, we are a risk management business. We are not here to facilitate any funky stuff in a way, right? We're only to help those CAM that need a legitimate solution for global trade payment. That's where we come into play and help to improve your working capital efficiency, right? Your turnaround time of the goods as well. So if you are also in the B2B sort of global trade business, as a citizen, you can have a global account with JP Morgan in Hong Kong, right? Whereby you can dealing all the G7, G10 currency, and wherever you go in the emerging market, as you mentioned, you can have the local banking account similar to the local merchants, right? It's a very, very powerful tool when you go do business abroad, right? So that's where we come in play. Hand this kind of global tool to the SMEs. Say, wherever you want to go to do business, we'll help you to facilitate your money management. As I mentioned earlier, right? So currently, the whole African-China corridor is a very, very important, one of the most important corridor for us. And then meanwhile, I think in the next 24, 36 months, we're trying to build African GCC, African ASEAN, African Europe corridors as well, in order to facilitate not only the trade between Africa and China, and also trade between Africa and the other part of the world as well. We call ourselves previously importer exporter across globe. They call us B2B version of PayPal, right? So they can use the business wallet that we built. Now with the kind of the settlement network in the build, what we call the XNet settlement network, whereby people kind of refer us as the B2B version of Visa or MasterCard, whereby we have built a settlement network, i.e. infrastructure, to help not only the SMEs at the kind of merchant base, as well as the FI, financial institutions, help them to, say for example, a lot of banks in the emerging markets say, oh, I think we love, what they told me is that we think your risk management system or infrastructure is very, very powerful. So whenever I have a customer, they want to pay to China, can you also help me to screen, to leverage on your infrastructure to help do the screening, making sure the one who is going to receiving or collecting the money from any of the African countries is a good guy. That we have the capability in doing so, right? We are the only one having the capability in doing so because simply because we are the largest in what we do, right? From the kind of database point, from the TPV point, and the number of merchants, right? So we are in the build of a next generation of B2B settlement network that will be not only benefiting the Chinese exporter, but also all the global importer and exporters. But we do have a sort of priority order whereby we see countries like Africa, Latin America, and ASEAN countries, and GCC, the global South countries, is our first priority order, right? So the reason is also, I think, for very obvious reasons, the geopolitical China-US tensions. So US used to accounted for 26% of our volume. Today is less than 10%. It's even less than 8%, right? But remember, as I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, we are still growing at 100% plus growth rate. So natural question is, so where are the growth coming from? It's coming from the global South market. So for payment, we are very simple product. We only do B2B, do collection, leverage on the kind of network that we built. And then we do have pay in, pay out, and FX, and also meanwhile, as I mentioned, adding on the different services, right? Wealth management service and the lending business as well, and maybe potentially also any other CRM customer service that's kind of more of a SaaS service. We are still looking at that very carefully internally because with the AI, we're not very sure. You still need to build a software anymore, right? So that's something that we're also debating internally, trying to helping have a more kind of surrounded solution for our merchants. I think the GFTN is one of the most important events for Africa in fintech. I think that's why we paid quite a lot of attention to this event, and we also have quite a big presence here today. When it comes to expectation, I think two parts. First of all, is really I think it's a very good opportunity to meet all the policymakers in all the key countries in Africa, the central bankers, and for those who already supported us, we're trying to also making sure they understand how things have been progressing. Anything that we can improve, we're happy to listen to feedbacks. And for the countries or the central banks that we're still at preliminary discussion, we also want to emphasize our strengths, our contribution to the ecosystem locally. I think that's the first first part when facing the regulators. And secondly is really the FI networks, all the banks, not only the local banks in Rwanda or regional big banks in Africa. That's also one of the important part of the play of our global, expansion. So as I mentioned, we still need to rely on some of the banking capabilities when it comes to FX, when it comes to some of the settlement, that we don't have that access or capability yet. And we're happy to, so we do have a very extensive experience in working with the banks globally, right? We also want to, introduce to our kind of, business model, collaborative model with how we do that with banks in Hong Kong, the global banks, introduce those kind of, way of collaborative initiative to the banks here. To see whether it's something that they are interested of. We're happy to expand, expand our local business with their help as well in each of the respective market they are good at. And that's really the two priorities and the expectation that we are very looking forward to yield some result for our, for this year to come, to making sure we achieved what we have budgeted at the beginning of the year.